There is one big difference between an amateur footballer and an elite footballer. One pre-plans each move, which maybe can be good for the category he is playing in. The other just lives the game, and he plays through instincts. But listen carefully. Most people confuse instincts with flow state, and this confusion is exactly why 99% of players never unlock their true potential on the pitch. Let me break this down for you, because understanding this difference will change everything about how you approach football. Flow state is when you're completely absorbed in the game. Time slows down. You feel like you're floating. Everything becomes effortless. You're not thinking, you're just being. It's that magical state where your conscious mind steps aside and lets your subconscious take over. Instincts, on the other hand, are your body's automatic responses built through thousands of hours of experience. They're the split-second decisions you make without thinking. When you see a gap and your body moves before your brain even processes it. When you feel pressure from behind and automatically shield the ball. When you know exactly where your teammate is going to be without looking. Flow state is temporary. It comes and goes. Some games you have it, some games you don't. For example, if you are playing with a weaker opponent, you will not enter flow state. But instincts are permanent. They're hardwired into your muscle memory, your spatial awareness, your football DNA. And this is exactly why the traditional football education system is failing players like you. Think about it. How are you currently training? Cones in straight lines, pre-planned drills, robotic movements. Do not misunderstand. I am not saying to stop this type of training. It may help you with your technique, but do not rely only on it. Football is unpredictable. Football requires you to make decisions faster than your conscious mind can process them. This is why that kid who grew up playing street football with no formal training can come onto your team and immediately look like he belongs in a higher division. His instincts are sharp because he developed them in the most natural environment possible. Street football, the park, the neighborhood court, the school playground. When you're playing in a tight space with 7 other players, you don't have time to think. The game forces you to react, to feel, to trust your instincts. And here's what happens to your brain in that environment. When you make the right instinctive play, when you nutmeg someone, when you thread that impossible pass, when you create something from nothing, the satisfaction is immediate. The feedback is instant. Your brain says, remember this. This works. That's how instincts are built. Through repetition in unpredictable environments, through making mistakes and learning from them immediately, through playing with better players who force you to elevate your game. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Bro, I'm 16, I'm 18, I'm 22. I didn't grow up playing street football. Is it too late for me? Listen to me carefully. It's never too late. But you need to understand something. The optimal window for developing raw instincts is childhood and early adolescence, roughly between 6 and 12 years old. During this period, your brain is incredibly plastic. It's soaking up patterns, building neural pathways, creating automatic responses. This is why players like Yamal, who grew up playing street football in Barcelona, look so natural on the ball. By the time he was 12, his brain had already processed thousands of unpredictable situations. His instincts were already sharp, but just because you missed that optimal window doesn't mean you can't develop instincts. It just means you need to be smarter about how you train. And this brings me to the method that 99% of players completely ignore: shadow training with maximum intention. Most players think training hard means training long. They think volume equals improvement. I trained 6 hours today. I did 500 touches. I ran 10 kilometers. But they're missing the most important element: intention. I see guys on my Discord server claiming they train 6 hours a day. But trust me, if you actually put real intention into your training, your brain would fry after 2 hours. What do I mean by maximum intention? Picture this scenario. You're practicing your first touch, but instead of mindlessly hitting the ball against the wall 200 times, you imagine a specific game situation every single time. The pass is coming from your left. There's a defender 2 meters behind you. You need to control the ball and turn in one movement. You feel the pressure. That's 1 rep with maximum intention, and it's worth more than 50 mindless touches. This is what shadow training really means. It's forcing your mind to make decisions at game speed even when you're training alone. But here's the problem with this generation of football players: the attention span issue. You want to know why you can't train with maximum intention for more than 20 minutes? It's because your brain has been fried by social media. You've been feeding your mind junk food for years, and now it can't focus on anything that requires real mental effort. You think you're improving by watching those Instagram Ronaldo compilations with funk music in the background, but you're not improving. You're doing mental masturbation. You're getting the dopamine hit of improvement without actually doing the work. Your brain thinks it's learning because it's consuming short football content, but consumption is not creation. Watching is not doing, and passive absorption is not active training. So before we can even talk about developing instincts, we need to fix your attention span. We need to detox your brain from the constant stimulation that's keeping you from reaching your potential. Step 1, reduce your screen time. I don't care if you think you need your phone for motivation or learning. Your phone is the enemy of your focus. Every notification is stealing a piece of your attention. Every video you scroll past is training your brain to crave instant gratification. Start with the 2 hours rule. No phone after you wake up for 2 hours, and no phone before you sleep for 2 hours. Step 2, meditation. Meditation is training. It's training your most important muscle, your attention, 5 minutes a day. That's it. Sit in silence and focus on your breathing. When your mind wanders, bring it back to your breath. This is exactly the same skill you need on the pitch. When distractions come, bring your focus back to the game. Step 3, single tasking during training. Remove your AirPods and do what you have to do. When you're training, period. Now, once you've started repairing your attention span, we can talk about how to train instincts properly. Remember, instincts are built through pattern recognition. Your brain needs to see the same situation hundreds of times with slight variations until it can predict what's going to happen next. This is why street football is so powerful. In a small space with multiple players, the same patterns keep repeating. Someone tries to dribble past you. Someone makes a run behind you. Someone leaves space for a through ball. Your brain starts to recognize these patterns and create automatic responses. But if you don't have access to regular street football games, you need to create similar conditions in your training. Even though I highly recommend playing a lot of pickup games. Once you start developing sharp instincts, you can access what I call ultra instincts. Ultra instincts is when instincts meet flow state. It's when your automatic responses are so sharp that they create the perfect conditions for flow to emerge. Flow state requires you to stop thinking and trust your abilities. But if your abilities aren't sharp enough, if your instincts aren't developed enough, your conscious mind won't let go. It'll keep interfering because it doesn't trust your unconscious responses. But when your instincts are sharp, when your automatic responses are so reliable that they consistently make the right decisions, your conscious mind finally relaxes. It says, okay, I don't need to supervise this. The instincts have got it handled. And that's when flow becomes more accessible consistently. This is what separates good players from great players. Good players occasionally access flow state through luck or perfect circumstances. Great players have developed their instincts to such a level that they can access flow on demand. Messi is a perfect example of this. Watch him play. He's not constantly in flow, but his instincts are so sharp that when the right moment comes, when the game demands it, he can slip into flow instantly. His body knows exactly what to do because it's done it thousands of times before. Now, let me tell you something that might surprise you. The most important instinct you can develop isn't technical. It's not your first touch. It's not your passing. It's not your shooting. It's spatial awareness. Your ability to know where everyone is on the pitch without looking. Your ability to feel pressure before you see it. Your ability to find space that others can't see. Professionals play with 360-degree awareness. They know where every player is. They can feel the flow of the game. They see opportunities developing before they actually develop. How do you train this? The answer might surprise you. You don't train it by looking around more. You train it by playing more small-sided games where spatial awareness becomes critical for survival. In 11 versus 11, you can hide. You can find a safe space and wait for the ball to come to you. In 4 versus 4 or 5 versus 5, there's nowhere to hide. Every player matters. Every movement creates a ripple effect. You're forced to be constantly aware of everyone's position because your survival depends on it. This is why players who grew up playing futsal often have incredible spatial awareness. Futsal forces you to develop 360-degree vision because the game is so fast and the space is so tight that hesitation equals dispossession. So here's what I want you to do. Starting this week, dedicate at least 30% of your training time to small-sided games. Get your friends together, set up a small pitch, play 3 versus 3, 4 versus 4, 5 versus 5. It's even summer, so you'd better be training outside and having fun. Play with players who are better and older than you whenever possible. Your instincts develop fastest when you're constantly being challenged by superior decision making. Now, I am mentioning something that a lot of guys underestimate: recovery. Your brain doesn't actually learn during the intense moments of training or playing. It learns during the quiet moments afterward when it has time to process and consolidate the experiences. This is why sleep is so important for football development. During deep sleep, your brain replays the patterns it experienced during the day. It strengthens the neural pathways that worked and weakens the ones that didn't. It literally rebuilds itself based on your experiences. If you're not getting quality sleep, you're sabotaging your instinct development. Your brain doesn't have the time it needs to process and store the patterns you're trying to learn. Active reflection is equally important. After every training session, after every game, spend 10 minutes thinking about what happened. Not judging it, not criticizing yourself, just observing. When did my instincts work? When did they fail? What patterns did I notice? What situations felt natural? What situations felt uncomfortable? Here's a practical exercise. Keep a football journal. After every session, write down 3 things. 1 moment when your instincts were spot on. 1 moment when your instincts let you down. 1 pattern you noticed that you hadn't seen before. This simple practice will dramatically accelerate your learning because it forces your brain to actively process instead of passively experience. Now, let's talk about something that can supercharge your instinct development: visualization. Your brain doesn't distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and real experiences. When you visualize yourself in game situations, your brain creates the same neural pathways as if you were actually playing. This means you can train your instincts even when you're not on the pitch. Here's how to do it properly. Find a quiet place where you won't be interrupted. Close your eyes. Imagine a specific game situation in as much detail as possible. Feel the grass under your feet. Hear the crowd in the background. See the positions of your teammates and opponents. Now imagine receiving the ball in that situation. What does your instinct tell you to do? Don't think about it rationally. Let your body respond. Feel yourself making the movement. See the outcome. If it works, replay it from different angles. If it doesn't work, adjust and try again. The key is to make it as realistic as possible. The more vividly you can imagine the situation, the more your brain will treat it as real experience. Professional players like Salah, Lewandowski, and more use this technique all the time. When you visualize, include even the mess. Imagine receiving a bad pass and having to adjust. Imagine being under pressure from multiple defenders. Imagine being tired in the 80th minute and still having to make smart decisions. Imagine losing the ball. Prepare your brain for this pressure. Now, here's something that might blow your mind: the importance of training your non-dominant side for developing instincts. Most players heavily favor their dominant foot. They can do everything with their right foot and almost nothing with their left foot. This creates a massive blind spot in their instincts. If you're heavily one-footed, your brain has to consciously think about positioning your body to use your strong foot. This thinking slows down your responses and makes your movements predictable. But when you're truly two-footed, your brain doesn't waste time positioning your body. It just responds with whichever foot is most natural for the situation. So make weak foot training a priority, not just for shooting or passing, but for everything. First touches, dribbling, defending, even simple ball control. The more comfortable your weak foot becomes, the faster and more instinctive your responses become. Let me share something with a last tip that might surprise you. The role of other sports in developing football instincts. Playing multiple sports doesn't dilute your football development. It enhances it by giving your brain more patterns to draw from and more situations to adapt to. Basketball develops spatial awareness and reading of player movement. Tennis develops hand-eye coordination and reaction time. Martial arts develop balance and body awareness. Swimming develops breathing control and rhythm. Players who specialize too early often have gaps in their instinctive responses because their brains haven't experienced enough variety. Players who maintain athletic diversity often have richer, more adaptable instincts. Zlatan has a black belt in Taekwondo. This explains his amazing acrobacy with his legs. Ronaldo loves tennis, Mbappe plays basketball, and I could give you many other examples. This doesn't mean you should split your time equally between sports. Football should be your primary focus, but incorporating other activities 10 to 20% of the time can actually accelerate your football development. The key is choosing activities that complement football rather than compete with it. Activities that develop different aspects of athleticism and decision making. Remember, you don't get better at football by watching videos about getting better at football. You get better by watching these videos and acting upon them immediately. The protocol is clear. The only question remaining is whether you're ready to commit to the journey. But if you are still watching, that means you care. Most guys clicked off in the first minute, but you are still watching. So if you're serious about this, make sure to join the free Discord community. Hit the protocol and take action.